It is match day in the Premier League, Manchester City versus Wolves. The first time I've been to the Etihad since that very frustrating, embarrassing performance against Everton. I was ill for the Spurs game, so I missed that awful end to the first half and then miraculous comeback. In terms of the City team, a little bit concerned because it looks like Laporte is going to be playing at left back, and if he's up against Traore, or indeed if Traore's up against any fullback that the City have, apart from Kyle Walker, I'd be incredibly concerned. The fact that it's Laporte, who I highly rate, I think is City's best defender, he ain't a left back. He's not the quickest. It's not even like a case of Ake, where at least Ake's pace can get him out of danger. Laporte is slow, so that's a little bit confusing for me. The other fullback is Rico Lewis, who was incredible against Spurs, but again, if Traore is up against him defensively, that might be where it's called into question, but we'll have to see. The rest of the team is how you basically expect. De Bruyne is brought back into the team. Alvarez dropped to the bench. A little hard done by considering how well he played against Spurs, but it's always going to be a good plan B, I feel like, to bring in the likes of Alvarez to be runners to sort of bounce off Haaland if we need that against Wolves, because Wolves are going to sit tight, they're going to camp, they are going to defend for their lives. This is a relegation threatened Wolves. They'll be hoping for something like a 0-0 or a 1-0 on the break. I'm going to say this is going to be a very low scoring game. I'm going to say City will win 1-0 and it will be, I mean, Mahrez is in outrageous form, isn't he? Based off that last Spurs game. So I'm going to say Mahrez gets the winner today, and this is a must-win game for City. And basically every single game from now until the end of the season, we're only halfway through the season, but every single game is must-win because City have put in some terrible performances recently. A couple really good ones mixed in there as well, but some really odd performances, and Guardiola called out the players recently, hoping for a reaction. So let's hope we get that one today. We're here. I was just in the toilet and it stunk of salmon. I don't know what that tells you. I can already tell the Wolves fans are going to be loud today. They were last season. There's loads of them. There's Haaland. There's the danger man. It's on the Traore. He's about to cook Laporte. Spurs, mate. What's he telling him? Something wise, hopefully. Oh, there you go. Oh, hello. Oh, getting some touches. For Kevin. You better than that, mate. Good tackles. Keep going. kick, okay. No penalty, okay. But not a yellow card either, weird. Well done. What should have been a really tricky, bitty game for City actually turned out to be really simple and straightforward. City beat Wolves 3-0, courtesy of Haaland scoring a hat-trick. Wolves were so poor today. Last season, at the Etihad, City won 1-0, courtesy of a controversial penalty. Wolves, even with 10 men, dug in, and they were really hard to break down and beat. I thought it was going to be a really similar situation. That's why I predicted 1-0. Wolves sort of kept it tight early on. City did struggle to create anything, but then when the first goal went in from City, they were just so bad. Defensively, they just kept giving the ball away. I also thought that they didn't pose any threat from the counter-attack either in transition. I thought that's, for me, the main worry was Laporte at left-back or Ake in the second half at left-back up against Traore. But that just never happened. Wolves seemed quite eager to try to play it out from the back at times. I thought they probably would have been better just going more direct, just trying to play in Traore much more than they did, but that just didn't happen. In fact, I think Traore went off at half-time, but he just didn't do anything in the first half either, so Laporte at left-back didn't actually matter. It didn't detriment City at all. So yeah, Wolves were really disappointing. Wolves fans, I thought, were also disappointing. I ranked them as one of the best last season. I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10. They brought good numbers, but they were quiet for the majority of the match. Sorry about that. In terms of the match, Haaland with 3 goals, of course. De Bruyne has been having this really weird season where he was unbelievable before the World Cup, and he's even had games after the World Cup where he's been unbelievable and world class. But in like recent games, there have been odd moments where he just can't make a 5-yard pass. In fact, it happened today, like a few minutes before the first goal went in. He just couldn't do a standard pass. It was really weird. I was like, oh no, it's going to be another one of those days. But the thing with De Bruyne is he's more than capable of putting in a really good cross and more than capable of getting an assist. And that's exactly what happened. It's a very simple goal from a City perspective. Mahrez has some space, plays it to De Bruyne, who floats one in. Haaland's there. Haaland scores. Water is wet. And then from that point onwards, there was never really a threat of a Wolves equaliser. I don't think they had a shot in the first half. Can't really think of a save Ederson had to make, apart from maybe one where Wolves tried to chip it over Ederson, but it was 3-0 up by that point. I also thought that City should have had a penalty in the first half. I've seen the replay as well. I've seen the highlights. It's definitely a penalty. It doesn't matter whether it's soft or not. Jack Grealish definitely gets fouled. Haaland scores the penalty. It's so nice, by the way. As a City fan, you'll know how hard it's been in terms of like when City get a penalty, like, oh god, we're probably going to miss this one. But now we've actually got a really good penalty taker, it seems. So it's really nice winning a penalty and knowing, right, this is probably almost definitely going to be a goal because we've got Haaland taking it. And then the third goal is just a moment of madness from the Wolves keeper, Jose Sa, who's normally quite competent, and Mahrez really calm under pressure, squares to Haaland, he gets his hat-trick. It's a lovely, lovely time. So there's not actually much to analyse about the game. City, were they back to like their brilliant self? They weren't amazing in this game, but they didn't need to be because Wolves were so bad. But it's certainly, let's compare it to, let's say, the Everton game or the Brentford game. It's certainly a much better performance from City. So it's hopefully City moving in the right direction towards the business end of the season. Now we're past the halfway point. Haaland's obviously going to get man of the match, which is fair enough. He scored 3 goals. I might want to start doing something called, I don't know, like Nobbins' unofficial man of the match, you know, where there's like an obvious man of the match contender, you know, whoever scored the winning goal or whatever. But I feel like Jack Grealish played really well this game, but ain't no one going to talk about it because he didn't get a goal or get an assist, and he won't really be involved in a highlight reel. I mean, he should have won a penalty, but he was just really good throughout. He was linking play really nicely. The way he progresses the ball when he picks it up on the left and then goes inwards and then switches the play, it's just really nice. And another shout out to John Stones as well, who was imperious, and we'll end on Haaland's outrageous stats. That's now 25 in the Premier League and 31 in all competitions. So that means he's 9 off equaling Cole and Shearer's record for goals in the Premier League season, which was 34 goals. And he's now 13 off equaling Van Nistelrooy and Salah's record for most goals scored in all competitions by a Premier League player. And we're just over the halfway point in the season. And it's taken him 19 games to get 4 hat-tricks. The title holder before that point was Van Nistelrooy, who took 65 games in the Premier League to get 4 Premier League hat-tricks. It's insane. People are like, this really lazy argument has come out of nowhere, it seems like. Sort of like the past, basically since like a post-World Cup, I think. This really weird, as I say, I think it's a lazy argument of Haaland makes City worse. Or something along those lines, or City aren't as fluid, or just aren't, they're too predictable of Haaland, and basically just the end sum is a net negative. That's a lazy argument. It's because correlation does not equal causation. People saying, oh, well, City were better last season, now they bring in Haaland, and then they're not as good. That must be the case. I'd suggest to try to deploy some critical thinking skills, because it's just wrong. It's just wrong on so many levels. This game not only disproves that, but just the whole season. As I say, I think it's lazy. It's a lazy argument, and I think it's bordering on being a brain dead argument as well. It just makes 0 sense to me. If you actually watch City, you know that it's not because Haaland's on the pitch. You know that it's because, I alluded to it before, players just making very odd, weird individual errors. It's got nothing to do with a system. It's not a systemic issue. Just weird individual errors. There we go. Hopefully Guardiola got the reaction he wanted after he called out his players. I certainly got the result I wanted. And yeah, I always love it when Haaland scores, never mind when he scores 3. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.